Good morning, rise and shine. Come on in, come on in, come on in. I have some questions. I have some questions. When she has some questions, she do what? She goes live. Come on in. Let's talk about it. Come on in. It's a lot going on. It's a lot going on to where you have to start kind of thinking out the box and just going deeper than what you may have been going. Good morning, virtuous woman. How are you? Good morning. Please come on in. Please hit the like button as you come on in. It's a lot going on, and with everything going on, I just find myself going deeper with my thoughts. I even find myself using AI more as far as with like chat GPT because child, like I hear that like in the very near future, like when I say near, I'm talking like 5, 10 years near, like AI is just going to be taking over. AI is going to be taking over. Let me know in the chat. You work in a field where you're seeing that already, or where you're hearing chat around, your office or amongst your coworkers that there are changes to come, and much of the jobs that once was manned by actual person will now be done via AI. It's a real thing. It's like a real thing. It's a real thing. And I find myself sometimes thinking about like certain foods where right now, when I think about it, it's just like, well, how would AI take over that? For example, like sales. So I don't work in sales, but I work in a job, we're doing a job where it's heavily built on relationships. So it's kind of like sales because I'm brokering, like coming up with deals with back and forth with the negotiations and things like that. So it's heavy on the relationship part where it's like if this person likes you or if they don't. It's kind of like that. So I think about like, okay, well, what would that look like as far as with uh AI? How would AI be able to take over really that human experience that some jobs are kind of built around? And not all jobs are built around like the actual human experience. For example, fast food restaurants. To me, I don't look at those as jobs that are built around human experiences. Uh, it's more of a labor um, assembly line type of thing where it's just wash, rinse, repeat, just kind of automatic, no really emotion kind of required. It's just very task oriented. So I can see how the restaurants going forward uh, could be heavy with the use of AI. My very first time seeing, so here in Georgia, in our local restaurants, say Wendy's, um, McDonald's, in our local restaurants, we have these like a kiosk. I don't know if you would call it a kiosk, but it's like a computerized machine that where you can go and put your order in yourself. I don't really like using it. We have one called Steak and Shake. So I don't really per se like using them. Like if I go into like a Wendy's, because I don't go to McDonald's anymore. If I'll go into a Wendy's, I'll use it. I don't use it. I'll just go straight to the counter. I don't like using it. But like there's some restaurants where you have no other choice but to use it. Like if you go into like a Taco Bell, they'll make you use it. And then like a Steak and Shake. So Steak and Shake is kind of like a dine-in. It's fast food, but it's like in there they used to have like people who would wait on you and things like that. Uh-uh. It's strictly like you have to kind of go through that experience of using the machine, and you can't really opt out of the experience. Like, say, if you go to like a Wendy's where you can opt out of the experience. Because if I can opt out, child, I'm opting out. I don't know. But my first time seeing anything like that is when I went to Paris. And back then, I was eating McDonald's. I went to Paris, France in 2018, I'd say. I think it was 2018 I went to Paris. And my sisters and I, it was just us girls, girls trip, just us three. And we went and we walked inside of a McDonald's. I promise you, I didn't see no staff. It was just like, kind of like, I'd never been into a McDonald's like that. The building was like a building, like, you know how like you're walking down the street and you got different stores that you go in and out of. So picture that. And then like in one of the buildings, because like a strip, let's just say strip mall. So in one of the buildings, it's McDonald's. And so it wasn't its own standalone building like in Georgia, what we'll see here. So it was just like, one of the, businesses along on the street. And when we went in, it was like no staff. You got the menu in there. Of course, everything was in French. And then you have this computerized thing that I'm describing that we have here that I now see here, but I wasn't seeing at the time in Georgia here. The computerized like thing, marquee, I guess I would call it for lack of a better word. And you place your order. So me and my sisters, we just was so confused. Like I said, everything's in French. There's no one that you can speak to. And I would tell my husband about the challenges being in France, and he just laughs at the idea that we weren't trying to use technology on our phones with translator and all of that. Like, we just weren't even doing that. We was just getting it how we live. But that was my first time like experiencing where it was like something other than a human experience in a fast food environment. So for one, I felt uncomfortable because we're out of our country. We're in another country that don't, that's not led by, the English language. So you're already kind of out of your element. So you're dealing with that. And then there's the technology aspect of it that you're not used to. So now fast forward today, it's not uncommon to go in and see that type of setup. Oh yeah, let me add this. Let me add this part. When we were in Paris, France, so in the shopping district, that is where you'll see like your food chains and stuff. Because otherwise, near the Eiffel Tower and all that, you're not seeing all that. It's just strictly like regular, like authentic French restaurants. So we wasn't really trying to do that too tough or whatever. So, but we did experience some of the restaurants or whatever. But when we went shopping, spent a day in like the shopping district, that's when we seen like a Five Guys, we seen a KFC, we seen some other, American, restaurants. So at the Five Guys, so you know how here you have the freestyle machine, I think that's what they call it, the Coca-Cola freestyle machine, where that's that machine that has like all the different drink flavors. And it's called, I believe it's called a freestyle machine. My sister used to work for a company that provided servicing and stuff for it, and that's what they would call it, a freestyle machine. And so they had the machine there. So we were at the Five Guys. It was really nice. It was like a multi-level Five Guys. I ain't never seen one like that. We're at the Five Guys. My sister wants to get a refill on her drink, and she's like, "Man, it's not working." And so we finally like whatever. She ends up talking to this guy. Somehow, I guess she ended up talking to a security guy at the Five Guys, and he tells her, he was like, "Oh no, it's not working because it has already read that you've gotten a drink already." Like basically it didn't let you do like refills. It wouldn't let you do refills because when we were sitting down eating and when she was running to this problem with not getting it to work, we would see people walk up to the machine, put their cup up there, and it would work fine. We were like, damn, it's a conspiracy. What the hell is going on? And so finally, as we were walking out, because I think this Five Guys was like a two-story level five guys. It was pretty nice, pretty cool. But so on our way out, she ended up, I was like, we were like, just go to the counter. Somehow she ended up getting a conversation with the security guy, and he basically said, yeah, it's not working because it has a sensor on the cup that picks up that you have already got your cup filled. So in Paris, it wouldn't let you just, out here, if you got a cup, you just go up there, and get your drink and get however many refills you want because you got your cup. Oh no. In Paris, it was like, man, it's already registered because I guess at the underneath he told her it has a code underneath. So it's picking up from that code that you've already used it. So what happened, and then she went to the counter and got a new cup. Very interesting. So I say all that to say is I'm speaking to just the automated, how things can be regulated and managed. And that's in Paris, France. So think about like other places that may be ahead of us, when it comes to certain things. Because a lot of times things start here in the US. We're like, oh, we think we the smartest, we the innovators or whatever. But these things that I'm describing, this was in Paris, France in 2018. This stuff wasn't popping off like that here in the USA, especially not in Georgia. And I able to pick up how many times you've used like to limit you. So at one of the places, like I say, Steak and Shake is a restaurant chain that's here in Georgia. It's pretty much a fast food restaurant. And so you're doing everything yourself with placing the order. And say if you purchase like a soda. So it has the self machine where you're going to get your drink yourself. But when you go up there, you have to scan something in order for it to. So if you purchase the soda versus say like a milkshake or something like that, it's going to kick you out like a receipt that has like a I don't know what you call it. Those is it a URL code? Those a scanner. So you scan little scan thing, little square box. So you take that up there and you have to scan it, and then it'll recognize. Oh, okay, you paid for a soda. So you scan that first, and then after you scan that, then you're able to get the dispensers and things, the soda machine to work. Because otherwise, child, it ain't working. It is not working. So that is how they're able to regulate that, without the human person, the human experience. So it's these little things, you all, to where I'm seeing as far as with electronics, with the when it comes to the technology. It's the little things when it comes to technology that I'm seeing that's making a difference. Uh, so with things going automated, that's going to be jobs, right? That's jobs. It's jobs. So because you're not going to need. Hold on one moment. So that's an example of like jobs where you're not needing like a person to man that type of experience to regulate how often someone is getting something such as like a drink, if it's in an environment where there's the ability to get refills. So every day I'm just seeing these headlines about job layoffs, and given, I think I heard that right now, as far as even just with the federal government layoffs, we're right around 100,000. So when I think about all the jobs and it being around 100,000, I think about that many people being basically in the unemployment line or to come. Because in reality, even though a lot of these federal workers were extended the opportunity of receiving or accepted, or did their resignation or whatever, to where they're getting paid out through what September is about 8 months of pay. I still don't believe when that time comes that the vast majority of those people who are still going to be in the workforce that like wasn't retiring, I don't believe that the vast majority of those people are going to have jobs by then. I just don't. I don't believe it. I don't believe that a lot these people, these 100,000 people, let's just say 25,000 of them are just took it. They're just retiring, and then the other 75, they're still going to be in the workforce. When 8 months come, I do not believe that majority of say those 75,000 people will have secured employment. That first, okay, it's two parts. You're going to have people who are going to secure employment somewhere, but it's not going to be enough. It's not going to be comparable to what their last gig was, their last job. So you're going to have that. And then even when people start taking on that, it's going to probably be closer to when that money is running out. You know how desperate times calls for desperate measures, child. So as it gets, say, closer to September, people are going to become more and more desperate. So therefore, they're going to be more apt to just accept, quote unquote, any kind of job. And so I feel like by the end of the year, you're going to have people talking about how they're just not making enough, and how when they lost their government job, things kind of went downhill for them. And when it comes to their finances, because they were no longer working a job that allowed for them to sustain their lifestyle. So they're one accepting just a job wherever, whether it be the grocery store, a restaurant. They're just trying to get something to have some money come in. So you're going to have that group of people. Then you're still going to have those ones that are still just didn't line up nothing. They're still not going to have a job, because they're going to be like, nope, I can't go and accept a job opportunity that's paying less than X amount of dollars. So they'll continue to just keep looking, maybe even not accept some job opportunities if they feel like the offer's too low, things like that. So you're always going to have those people who are going to do that, where they're not going to be there. It's going to take them longer for kind of, I call it the reality to hit, that, you know what? My next job isn't going to pay X amount of dollars. It's not going to pay the amount of money I was making when I left my last job. It's a mental thing. I experienced it when I got laid off the second time in 2011. It was a mental thing to, with taking into an account, or trying to come to a place to where my next job is not going to pay the amount that my last job did. Because it's like you feel like you're going backwards. It's like you don't want to go backwards. You're like, no, 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 I'm worth more than this. I'm going to keep looking. I'm going to keep looking until you're doing that for 6, 12 months, 18 months. And you're like, you know what? You know what? So I think a lot of these people who have accepted this resignation, and who are, getting paid out still their salary through, September, I think they're going to go through that. I think they're going to go through that. And when they do finally line up work, it's not going to be paying what they were making. That's the sad reality, but that is the reality. So with that being said, it got me to thinking about the whole um, universal basic income. And so remember I said I've been, trying to refer to Chat GPT and things lately, when I'll just have these questions that have come about, to see what kind of information it kicks back, because they say, in the very near future, it's going to take over. So I'm like, okay, well, let me go to Chat GPT. Let me put some of these questions I have in here and see what it says. And so that's what I did last night. And ChatGPT told me about, so I'm from California. I'm from the Bay Area, Northern California, just in case some of y'all don't know. My day ones know I'm from California. Hello. Yes, please. Yes, please. So ChatGPT told me that California tested it, in particular a town called Stockton, California. That's a town like within like the Bay Area, Stockton. It's in, I think it's, thank you. Yeah, I think Stockton is still considered the Bay Area. Uh-oh. Thank you, ma'am. I think Stockton is considered still the Bay Area, but it's definitely like within driving distance from like where I grew up. But apparently prior to the pandemic, they tested out the they call it UBI, Universal Basic Income. So that's what I learned last night, because I knew universal income, but it's Universal Basic Income, UBI. So prior to the pandemic, they got 100 families, 100 people, and they gave each of them $500 every month. And I'm not quite sure, when I was researching the story, I did not see where where it said how long it ran through, because they said when the pandemic hit, it kind of messed it up, because people finances and things started kind of looking different once that pandemic hit. The world just changed. So they had started this test prior to. They started a test prior to. So they were like, they tried it. It was $500 a month that they gave to these households. So it was one guy talking about how with receiving of that $500, how it really helped, because whenever, like, how sometimes just life be happening, something unexpected will happen, and it calls for you to have to come up with some money, whether it be like some type of experience dealing with medical, if you got kids, or even yourself, dental, what else? Say a traffic violation, something that has you to be like, man, they asking for me to pay $300. I don't have that right now, because it's just unexpected. So this man was like, as a result of, when he was getting that $500, he had 2 kids. He had his mama and her husband, and they all lived together. And he was making, I think he said, now mind you, this is California. I think he said he was making like $13 an hour, some ridiculously low amount in California. So y'all know, just because I said California, that's craziness if I'm talking about making something anywhere in the teens. So he was saying, but the $500 really made a difference, because it helped out with those little unexpected things. So when I first seen the story, I'm like, okay, $500, that doesn't sound like a lot of money. It's not a lot of money. But if it's going to add to what you got going on for somebody who's in need, they can feel that. So it's almost like you're looking on paper, you're like, $500, that's not a lot of money. Because when I was thinking about it, I was thinking about it from the standpoint of that just being your only income you're getting for the month. Because remember, it's like a tester. So, but this was in addition to whatever these people, most people who were a part of this test, they were still working their jobs. Guess it was kind of up to them, but definitely it didn't make sense to quit your little situation because you about to start bringing in an extra $500. So people pretty much was kind of bringing in, keeping their jobs going on, and just, having an extra $500. But from what they was able to gather from the data, without it kind of being skewed from this whole pandemic thing, is that people felt like it worked. It made a difference for them with having extra $500. And the main reason was because of those unexpected things that tend to arise in people's lives. Because if you living and breathing, child, you're going to have some stuff that's going to take place that you just didn't see coming every day. Every day. Like, things are happening, and you don't know, child. We all out here on the wing and a prayer. So I'm like, okay. So after Stockton did it, some other places started trying to, started testing it out too. And I think some other places in California started to test it out. They use like a bigger group of people and things like that. So for years, I would say probably for the last 4 years, I've been hearing the talks about universal income. I knew it as universal income, but like I said, when I Googled it, it came up as UBI, Universal Basic Income. So I've been giving thought to this whole idea of this universal income for at least probably about 4 years. And I would say, like, when I think about it, I'm kind of in the middle on my feelings about it, because when I think about a universal income, I think about a situation where, kind of like somebody who receives government assistance and Section 8 or food stamps or whatever, monies from the government regularly. When you're receiving things from the government regularly, there are certain things and rules you got to comply by in order to receive it, right? And then even with some government resources, there's caps on, like, if you do go out and work a job, there's a cap on how much money you can earn when you if you are working a job. Say someone who receives Social Security, like, it's they're limited to the amount of money that they can make if they choose to go get another job. So when I think about like a universal basic income or universal income type situation, I think about it from a place of limitations, to where you're at a cap. You're at a cap. And then I think about it from a place of, okay, at any time, the government being able to come in and say, you know what, Virtuous Mika, I don't like what y'all did this month, so you're not gonna get your check this month. We'll try it again next month. But I don't like what you did this month. You see what I'm saying? So to me, it leads for things to be subjective with them determining whether or not you should receive it or not. Now, this test that they did in my research, and you all can look it up, universal basic income, and it's probably going to, Stockton, California might come up, but that's where they did the test. So when the article talked about, as far as with the 100 people and who was a part of the trial in Stockton, California, it talked about how there was no rules or anything centered around it. So keep in mind, it's beta, it's just a test. That wasn't it basically been put in full in effect with each of us. I'm pretty sure if it were to be put in effect with each of us, like from like a top level, I'm pretty sure there are things and guidelines and things that you will have to adhere to in order to be able to be a recipient of such, money each month. Like, there's things like you can't be out here going doing the most. They might say, well, if you mess around and go to jail, we finna take this. Like, there's going to be rules. There's rules and regulations with everything. There's fine print with everything. So it's just a matter of what would that look like, because I just don't believe that they'll give money out and you can still move however you move, and they don't have a say, or they can't flex their control or power in some type of way to show you that, okay, well, we can take this away. We can take this away. So that's kind of like what I think about when I think about a universal income type situation. Now, those are more so like the cons. The pros, when I think about it, is okay, they say that the universal income would come into play because AI is basically projected to just be taking over the world anyway, taking over everything. You all can look into this, do your own research. I was listening to over the weekend, like, people who are like scientists who have researched this thing, specialize in this thing. They're like, okay, it is coming. They're making these robots, they're getting smarter and smarter. They're outdoing. That's the thing. It's like, the thing about it is that these robots are outdoing the people. Y'all, let me tell you y'all this story before I get to the pros. Let me tell y'all the story. There was like one time I was seeing this compilation of somebody had put together a compilation of just AI, how things have changed over the years or whatever. So and some of y'all might have seen it. There was this video in one of the videos in the compilation. It was like the robots. It was centered around one robot being able to control the other robots. So let me tell y'all what happened. So it looked like it was probably in an Asian country. So, and you can see it transpiring on like the cameras in the building. A lot of businesses, inside of the cameras, they had inside of the buildings, there's cameras. So at night, I guess it's normal practice, the robots, they're just kind of lined up against the wall. I guess during the day, they're moving about however they use them. But at night, they're like, almost like, think about like a charging station. Like, the robots are just lined up, asleep. So it's maybe like 5 of them, bigger, taller robots that are just asleep. There's the smaller robot. There's like this smaller robot that, rolls up, because what they be rolling. I ain't gonna say he walked it. The smaller robot rolled up, and the smaller robot started talking to the other bigger robots that were lined up. I mean, it was probably even from 5 to 7. It was multiple of them. And the smaller robot was like, hey, do you want to go home? Yes, y'all, I am not making this. The smaller robots started talking to the bigger robots saying, hey, are you ready to go home? Do you want to leave? Do you want to leave? Listen, because the smaller robot, like, I'm done with this shit. We overworked and under damn paid. I'm tired of this shit. So it's the smaller robot talking to the bigger robot and the bigger robots because there's multiple of them. So the bigger robots kind of wake up and start communicating back with the smaller robot. So one of the smaller robots was like, one of the bigger robots was like, well, we have to work. Like, it started talking back. Y'all, I'm telling y'all, that thing started talking back to the smaller one like, no, like, we got to still work. That smaller robot was like, do you want to go home? You tired of being here? Do you want to just go home? Like, yo, the smaller robot started like, like, motherfucker, you tired? Do you want to go home? That's the energy the small one had with the big to the big one. This big one's got to thinking like, damn, bitch, you might be on to something. You know how somebody hit you with an idea and then you be like, damn, you right. You right. Fuck this shit. Fuck this shit. Do y'all know all the fucking robots took off and started following the smaller robot? And they got the hell on. They said, fuck that. We clocking out. We clocking out. We can't do this no more. Y'all done worked our goddamn asses. Y'all done cussed us out. We always did. So you see the smaller robot roll the fuck off, and then the other ones start rolling behind it. So then the next day, when it's time to open the business, the owners them they like, where the hell the robots at? Y'all, they had to go look for the goddamn robots. Ain't that some shit? That was on camera. They were like they were talking. This shit was captured on camera. So the next day, like I said, because I think it was like an Asian country, because it's like it was Asians in the building, and they just show up to where the robots are every night, you know? And they're like, it was no robots. Then robots said, bitch, fuck you, fuck this company, fuck whatever you got going on. I'm going to hell. And they was gone. So they had to go looking throughout the facility, because I'm sure, I would think the robots were still in the building, because I would think the building would have been locked, but the robots were no longer at their stations, because the one robot that enticed them to start thinking beyond their current situation, when he said, but do you want to go home? Are you tired? Like, the small robot was posing questions to the bigger robots. Y'all, this shit was real. I was like, oh, hell. Child, the robot said, F you. Mm-mm. The robot says, what you not gonna do is think you finna overwork me because I'm made of damn plastic and steel. Shit. So with things like that being in place, it has me just to think about maybe this whole universal income isn't so far-fetched. I'm stationary. Let me try to get through some of the comments, y'all, while I'm sitting here. Hey, Karen, good morning. Virtuous Woman says, most people will work in the metaverse and be on CBDC, which will be a digital currency. But I would save that for the day of discussion. In the reality, is the world changing? Yes, UBI is a test, like you said, to get people accustomed to what about to happen in the future, which will be CBDC, central banking digital currency. Hey, Mika. How are you? Mika said, I agree with you. Implementing universal basic income on a national level could lead to dramatic increase in deficit beyond just like the financial implications. It might discourage people like from seeking employment because yes, because I think the idea is going to be, we're going to pay you more money than, say, what the employers are paying right now. So that's kind of going to be the thing, the negotiating thing is like, why are you going to pay, going to work here at, McDonald's and make $1,200 a month when you don't even have to do that? I'm going to give you $5,000 a month. You see what I'm saying? So when you think about stuff like that, the average person's mindset is going to be like, okay, I can make more money by being at home than going to be on somebody's clock. So, Mika said, and exacerbate existing workforce shortages and ultimately create chaos in the economy. Yep. Ridgeway says, I'm in the bushes listening, but did you say the test was done on low-income people, families? Here's the thing. The article I was reading didn't say that it was done on low income families, but this particular person who gave a testimony, he was a low income family. So I'm not quite sure if all 100 people were low income, but to me, I would probably think so, because I don't see somebody who's a high income learner probably trying to run to like be a participant of such study. Like I don't see them looking at it, because it's just for somebody who's a high income learner, extra earner, an extra $500 is not going to be that life changing for them. So to me, I would think it was probably people who probably make probably less than 100,000 a year, and in California, that's not a lot of money at all. But I didn't see that part in the report that I read, as far as with the whole total pool of people, like the economic backgrounds of the. I just know it was 100. It was 100 people, 100 people, and they each got $500. Mika says a setup. Virtuous says this has been a motion years ago. Yeah. Ridgeway said I am so against AI. Individuals and families are going to be in bad shape once this is in effect. So the robots have emotions. Yet, like, that's the thing in this wasn't a movie, because I've been getting into a lot of, when I see movies on Netflix. Remember, I be saying, y'all, if y'all can see it in the movies, it's happening. It's capable of happening in your real life. It's either it's already happening, likely, and they're just conditioning you to get ready, or it's about to happen, but it's already a thing. It's an idea already. If they're putting it in the movies, it's an idea. It's already been tested. Somebody's playing with it. And I've seen plenty of movies in the last 6 months centered around, I would say, the first one, y'all, that scared the hell out of me was, it was in the movie theaters. I think it was called Megan. Did y'all see that movie? The movie, I think it was called Megan. Megan, and she was a little girl who was brought into the life. So Megan was a robot that was a girl, and she was brought into the life of this other little girl, like to be her friend, because I think there was a death, or I don't know, she lost one of her parents or something. Y'all, that just scared the hell out of me. But Megan was brought into this little girl's life to just be just somebody to just comfort her. And Megan had emotions. So if the little girl like was having issues, maybe being bullied, or somebody was teasing her, oh, Megan, like, bitch, I'ma handle that. I'ma take their asses out. I'ma knock over it. Like, Megan was just getting rid of them. Not, you stick your foot out and you trip them. Megan, like, taking lives. Megan was doing the absolute most. The absolute most. But it was centered around her, the programming of her feeling like, okay, I can't remember what the little girl's name was, but the movie's called Megan. I think Megan was the robot. So the robot is like, okay, I am the protector of this little girl, whatever. So anybody who's doing something to her, against her, whatever, that's not making her feel good, I'm coming for them. This is what the robot's mentality was. And so she was doing the absolute damn most. She was. And eventually, like, when the little girl came to learn it, her family came to learn it, it was just like, oh no, she got to go. But it was just crazy. It was just crazy. So if y'all don't know what I'm talking about, check it out. I don't know. It was in the theaters when I saw it. So I don't know now how you see it. But Google the movie Megan, and it was just like about the AI doll. So I saw that one. Maybe it's probably going on 2 years. Within the last 8 months, I've seen a couple of AI movies on Netflix centered around AI as well. See, what happens is, in these movies that I'm seeing, the ones, and even most of the ones I've seen, probably about two or three that I've seen on Netflix, it's centered around like one AI person that's supposed to be like, they look just like people, but they're brought into the worlds of like the family, into these households, to help, like, to say if mama in the hospital, mama sick, okay, let me get an AI person. They can help do chores around the house, take care of the kids, like be a nanny or a caretaker. And in some of these shows, in the movies, it'll say, the robots will say, okay, they do what they do because it's like, I am here to protect you, to support you. So however that AI interprets what that means, they're going to do that. In all the movies I've seen, there was deaths, because they're like, okay, you're coming for my person who I am here to protect, to take care of, to watch over. You're not making them feel good, even though that person didn't want the other person to be knocked off. The AI, the robot is just thinking like, I'm here to protect you. So this is what my protection look like. Now they ain't in these movies crying and nothing, so they ain't showing that type of. They're not showing really emotion. It's everything is from a logical standpoint. So it's almost like, okay, from a logical standpoint, I am supposed to protect you. So when I think about what protection means, okay, making sure if you're hungry, I'm going to get you food. Um, if something needs to be cleaned up around the house, there's a spill, there's a mess, I'm going to clean it up. If someone harms you or makes you feel sad, I am going to go and do something to them so they'll feel bad. This is so all that I said, it's coming from a logical. It's not emotion, it's logic. So with the AIs, everything is from a logical standpoint. It's smart enough to know how are you supposed to react when this happens, when that happens. So you all, that's rooted from programming. That's from the programming from the human programming. So in one of the movies, they were like, okay, she got to go. She doing too much. So they try to like reprogram her and plug her into the computer or something. Her programming, she ended up going into, say, the other AI machines, to where they started operating the same way because it went through the electricity, the airways. And so the other, even though that particular physical AI robot is not out there doing the absolute most, the logic went into the other AI that was also nearby, also plugged into the wall, into electricity. So through the computers, the programming said, okay, we got to let's do this into this particular physical this robot. So it's the same. And what's happening is that with these AI machines, that is what they're using. They'll take one AI, one robot, and then they'll use that to program others. You see what I'm saying? Child, this shit crazy. I ain't making this ish up either. Go to YouTube. I can't remember any of the ones. The only one name that I remember is just Megan, because it was just a name. That's I saw on the big screen. But these other ones that's on Netflix, you'd probably have to Google, a description of AI movies about AI on Netflix. Movie about AI going rogue, something like that. Or you might just, I don't know, just get creative with what you put in your description as you're trying to identify these movies. But they are out there. So whenever I see these movies, I like to watch them because, like I said, if it's in the movies, y'all, it's being done somewhere. Just because you ain't seen it, don't mean it's not happening. Just like when I said I went to Paris and they were already using the computers and stuff with placing orders where you have to do it yourself. I had never seen that before. It had never crossed my mind about that being a thing. I had never even seen it even in the movies. So when I went to Paris and seen that, and that you have to do it yourself, I'm like, what is this? But now fast forward 2025, like it's like almost damn near everywhere, or a lot of places, to where when I see it, I don't really think nothing of it because it's now like a new norm. So my question is, when will these AI robotic people be entered into our homes? Because I would say maybe about a year or two ago, I heard that was something in the works, to where you can have, excuse me, like an AI robot in your house that can do everything, that's going to do your laundry, that's going to do your cooking, that's going to do your cleaning. Have y'all seen that? Because one of the Netflix stories that I was kind of trying to describe to you all, like that woman, Basically, it's like you go to the premise within that movie. It's like you go to like a store, like a mall, and you're specifically shopping for an AI person, AI doll, robot, whatever, to bring into your home. So you can choose to say you want a male, or you want a female, and you're seeing them like, you know how like you go into a place like a car a dealership, and you got vehicles on display, and you're testing them out, and you're seeing which one you want. Picture that, picture that with AI, with AI robots, where you can go into a business, a store, and you're seeing these different AI robots that looks just like humans, and you're like, oh, that was cute. I like her. I like him, and that's the one I want, and it's delivered to your door, child. hmm That's the one that you're buying it, but this is the one you're bringing home. Would you be here for an AI robot like that coming into your home? Because my thoughts is from seeing these movies is that if they go rogue, they're so strong to where a person, your strength, like you're not stronger than they are. So really the only ways that I see where you can kind of dominate this AI robot is from like burning it up. Like you got to do something drastic and extreme to take it out, because remember it's centered around like the programming. So somehow whatever you're doing to it, you're you're impacting like the program. So it may be something where you're having to damn set it on fire or something. I don't even know if running it over with your truck gonna do it, but it's something, it's so drastic that I was seeing where how you would, have to kind of take it out, to get it to again go sit the hell down somewhere. But it's just, so that's my thing with that. So I'm gonna let that sit there. Virtuous says Elon already made these robots only the rich can afford right now. My. Mika says, no, ma'am, not my house. I'm not trying to go against a robot. It's hard to get customer service to fix your internet. Exactly, because nobody ever came in with this one that I saw on Netflix. When she started doing the most, they in the home, the family didn't get anything to reprogram it, but eventually when it was captured and taken in by like the creators of it, and they were like, okay, we're gonna try to fix it and reprogram it. And as soon as they connected the robot to the computer, that's when the programming of that particular robot went into the other robots, and then that was like asleep. So then they kind of came to life and then killed off the humans who were in there manning the robots. They took them people out. It was about two humans in there, like scientists or whatever you call them, technicians. The robots who took over the programming of that one that turned rogue ended up, killing the humans. And you're not stronger, than a robot. That's the thing. You're not stronger than a robot. Ridgeway said, I definitely would not want a robot in my home. I would rather do my own cooking, cleaning, etc. Virtuous Woman said, these robots think they human and want to do human things. Hint, hint. Yes, because so remember I said that the robot is programmed to take care of you. The ones that's coming to the home, going off of one of the movies, I watched. So the one that was Megan was a little girl robot. So she probably was maybe about the age of like 9. It was a little girl robot, and it was given to a little girl like her age. So the humans developed this like real connection to the robot, like it was a real person. That was like her new BFF. So that became kind of alarming to the family, because she considered this person to be like her everything, because hell, y'all didn't introduce it to her now. So now the little girl has gotten connected to the robot. So you got to keep in mind that could become a thing too. Now, the movie where the robot was an adult woman, she was brought into the house because the mom was in the hospital, I think struggling with cancer or something like that. And the dad was at home with their 2 children, a baby, like an infant, and then a little girl that was maybe like 6. So, and he worked. He worked like doing construction and stuff like that. So he needed help in the home. So that's why he went out and So I think somebody maybe recommended, hey, go get some help, go get a robot. So that's when he went out and bought one. Well, remember I said the robot is programmed to know to be there to help you however it has identified that you are in need of helping. So the robot took notice of the man coming home, being stressed and all of that from work, wife at the hospital, struggling, trying to live. The robot took notice that that man was stressed and he probably needed some relief. And the robot knows for what when you're stressed, what is a good reliever? Remember, this robot, a female woman robot. Megan Fox played. So this is another way if you want to find this particular movie. Megan Fox played the robot for this movie. So Google Megan Fox plays role as a robot. Megan Fox. So the robot felt like, okay, well, yeah, you stressed. You need to release. You need to release. So the robot was able to change up her voice one day to sound like the wife. Remember, it's a robot, the programming. So to get him to go along with being intimate with her, this is the robot. She knew she had a mess played with his psyche, so she made her voice one day sound like the wife's voice. Because he didn't want to be, I mean, it's a robot and then he's married. So he wasn't trying to go there with like that because she kind of alluded to wanting to do that before. And he kind of like, but one day when he was taking a shower, she came in and joined him. And then her voice was the same voice of his wife. So it did something to him psychologically to where he's like, I'm not seeing my wife, but I'm hearing my wife. I'm hearing my wife. I miss my wife. I have not been touched. So he goes along with the whole act with this robot. So it's remember it's programming. Everything is it's programming. Virtuous says the voice wasn't the only thing like the wife. Right. Because when y'all look up this movie, she looks just like a woman. Like everything like a woman. You just know it's a robot because hell, you know it's a robot. But going off of like the visuals, you're seeing a person, an attractive person. Mika says Subservience is the movie. Thank you for that. Did you see that, Mika? Uh, it was a really good movie. I would suggest you see it. I said that was probably the last one that I watched, and I probably watched that maybe last summer, fall, maybe within like the last 8 months. Really good movie. Megan Fox did a really good job with it. She was crazy, but she was a robot. But she did, Megan Fox. I think she's beautiful, but she was a robot, an attractive robot. She was an attractive robot. And yeah, this is how she was moving, but it was all from like the programming of I'm here to protect you. I'm here to protect you. And if you're stressed, I know what stress means and I know how to relieve stress. So let me help you. That robot like, damn it, let me help you. She helped him all right. She helped him all right. She helped him all right. So these are things, that, I think about, when I think about the idea of like robots being embedded into our lives. Mika said, yes, Sheik, I watched them all. I'm fascinated by them because after I seen Megan, that movie Megan with the little girl, maybe almost 2 years ago at the theater, that was when I said, I'm not here for the idea of like robots that look like humans and them coming into your home. Because, so for those of you who may be new to my channel, my background is clinical mental health counseling. So I'm really heavy into like the psychology and the thought process of things. And get into Megan. Y'all watch Megan if you haven't. What alarmed me with the movie Megan is that it was that connection that that child developed with the robot. because the robot looked human, and then the robot would engage with the child like a human, but it wasn't. So the child did not desire to want to go be around anybody else, do whatever. The child wanted to do everything with Megan, because to her, Megan was like her everything, her best. It was just like, I don't need you. I got Megan. I want Megan to do. And it's just like, so for a child, and they develop that connection with something. It's almost like, think about some of you when you're raising children and they had like their stuffed animal that you could not part them away from. They had something that child, you remember, you weren't able to kind of part them away from it. Whether it was a blanket, their stuffed animal, it was just their safety mechanism. Like they had to have that. So think about with a robot that's programmed to emulate and to look like a person. Think about a child developing a connection to that. How do you break that away? How do you break that away to try to get this child to understand that it's just a robot and it's not a person? So you shouldn't put them above, an actual person or experiencing a person. Like houseway, especially nowadays, you got a lot of kids that don't want to engage with other kids. They'd rather be left alone. They want to be in their room. They want to be to themselves. But if they had access to be able to just have a robot to do whatever, and they don't have to deal with what they feel like comes with the human experience, a lot of kids will opt to have that. They would like to have that, because it's just like, okay, it's some sense of companionship, but it's also not the things that come along with humans, as far as with the arguments or them doing things that you don't like, or them saying things. It's just different. So it's almost like having the best of a human experience. And I think us as an adults, with the way our brain works, I like to believe most of us would be able to kind of understand and separate the robot from the human. But as for a child, that would to me be hard, with them compartmentalizing, okay, this is the human experience with mom, dad, grandma, whoever, but this is just my robot. And I just do these things with my robot, but this is what I need to do with my family, my human. I just think that would be a lot for a child to kind of break down and to really understand. So when I watched the movie Megan, that was my sentiments, my thoughts on that. It's just like, this would be dangerous for a child, an impressionable child. It's dangerous. And only how a child could even try to even break away from something like that or gain some type of understanding, it's like the child would probably have to witness, like what I've seen in the movies, where that robot did some crazy bad stuff that that child was not here for. And then at that point, it's just like, oh, this isn't good, because they now seen the robot do something that they didn't like. So that's what I took away from Megan. So I said, oh, hell no, I'm not here. So I think when that movie came out, that was like when, right after I had just learned about an idea of, robots coming into the home. Mm-mm. Virtues had left them traumatized. Yeah, like a child would be traumatized, because it's just like, what? Like their brains is different. They're not even, a child is still developing. So, but I just hope that that doesn't come, be a thing for, you know, I think Mika said, the rich already have, or Elon already has those robots and things out already. The rich have access to it. Okay, well, let damn rich people continue to play around with that mess. As far as like with introducing into like the world, to the world with just everyone, no, you can have that. You can have that. You can have that. So, and I know some people not even here for just like the Alexa in the house, or like my mom, she is anti all of that. I have the robot vacuum. That's pretty much the two robotic type things I do have um, in my home. That's the extent of it. But I don't desire to have something else really other than that that's coming, that's mimicking like the human, like where it's just navigating through my house like that and having access to my family. I'm just not here for that. Mika said, right at this point, my children are deeply engrossed in technology, which is contributing to their increasing isolation from one another instead of engaging face to face. It's the norm. That's how my kids are. One in college now. The most he's been social has been since he's been at college, and he developed a group of friends. Like during for he's in second year of college, and first semester he made a group of friends. So when he came home for the holidays and him talking about friends and engaging, in group chat with friends, it was a beautiful thing because during his high school experience, like that's just not what the type of time he was on. And so I was happy to see that. My other two that are in high school, my 16-year-old, he's always kind of had his group of friends. When he's at home, he's in his room by himself, but at least outside, he had a group of friends that he regularly kind of would like engage with. My daughter, she can take all y'all, she can leave all you humans. She got one solid ride or die friend, and she said that's she fine with that one. And she had that one since like third grade. So, and she's a freshman in high school. So she is my child to where I can easily see her appreciating saying, with having, let's just say if there was a robot that was there to do whatever, her pretty much preferring to have access to that versus like me and planning this human person in her life that she has to deal with. I'm just saying. She like, I'm tired of y'all humans. Y'all do too much. Y'all do too much. Ridgeway says, "Wait, do have the vacuum robot? So I guess I do have a robot in my house. Yeah, I got two vacuum robots, one for upstairs and one for downstairs. I've had them in my home for years. Let me see, but I've at least 5 years. I've had the vacuum robot, and then I have Alexa, and I'll ask. I don't really use Alexa a whole lot, but I'll usually ask Molly daily, maybe about the temperature when I'm getting ready for work. I'll inquire about the temperature, or if I just want to hear some music, I'll request for certain music to be played, a certain genre or a certain song. But I don't use her nowhere nearly like to the capacity that she could be used as far as the use of AI with asking questions and things like that, but I do have access to that. Siri on my phone, I never use that. I forget it. I don't ever use it on my phone. But Alexa, I do use. But I know a lot of people are like, oh, hell no, don't even want any parts with Alexa because, again, that's something where it's in your home and it's hearing things. Like I've heard people talk about, okay, it's able to hear things. So whoever's behind the programming of it or whatever, like they can hear things. There's probably a camera somewhere they can see things. So people who are like really anti, these are like the reasons and thoughts that they have as to why they don't use them. But these things that I'm telling you, my husband is a techie. His career is in technology. So our life has been embedded with like the use of technology forever. So for me, it's just coming down to where my limits will be where I will draw the line. And right now, the having a robot in the house to do these things that I talked about, these regular everyday practical things, I'm not really here for just because of its technology and how smart it is. And it's dealing with the programming and just thinking about the things that can go wrong. And when they start to go off kilter, like, how do you stop that? It's just like, I don't know. Is it as easy as just flipping a switch? And hell, you got to get close enough to it to be able to flip the switch. So what if it's something that's doing the absolute most and you don't even feel safe enough to go within reach of it? So how are you turning it off? How are you turning it off? So the way my mind work, I start going deep and I think about all these things and I'm like, nah, I'm good. So I'm sure there'll be some people, over time as it comes out, that'll bring it in their homes and I'll listen to the reports and them give their testimony on how it's been and all that. But right now I'm like, nah, I'll pass. If I'm going to deal with anything, it's probably going to be me taking a chance just dealing with a human versus the robot on that type of level. Mhm. Nika said, this heavy reliance on technology not only hampers their ability to connect with others, but also diminishes their capacity to navigate real life social situations. Very true. Very true. Like my daughter, and really like all my kids, but especially like my daughter, like the idea of going to a counter to ask for something like more napkins, ketchup packs, like it's just like what? Like her mindset is she would rather go without than to have to go and have engage with someone for help. So for school, it just works out because she's super smart. So she doesn't really have to go and talk to somebody about help for school because she just gets it. She's a gifted kid learner. But personality, like when we're in public, like I'll try to intentionally put her in situations to have to go and engage with a stranger, like go to the counter, do this, go ask for this, go after it down. She doesn't want to, but and it's usually be a whole conversation before she does it, but I'll try to push her to do it because I understand that once she become an adult and go out into the real world, these are things you're going to have to do. So when it comes to her, I always say I don't like to feed into her shenanigans and make it so comfortable for her where she don't have to deal with people, because I know that that's not the reality of life. And I always say we always have to deal with people in some capacity. Even if you are entrepreneur, you work for yourself, your customers, like you always have to deal with somebody. There's nothing that we do where uh you don't rely on somebody in some type of capacity. So I talk to her about those things and I try to put her in situations to where she has to kind of interact with people because I know it's not what she likes to do. It's not her comfort zone. But my thing is what practice makes perfect. So if I keep at it with her, putting her in situations to have to go and say something to a stranger, then that'll have her to develop a comfort of communicating her wants and needs to strangers. Because right now her mindset is she would literally rather go without if having means she would have to go and engage with someone to ask them for something. She'll be like, "Oh, I'm fine. I don't need it." Like that's her mindset. Like what? Like she would literally be like, "Okay, I don't need it." Like you could have simply just asked, but because she would have to engage with someone, she was like, "Ah, it's not that serious. It's not important for her. It's not important. It's not worth it because it takes her out of her comfort." So that's what I work on kind of with her. My middle son, he's better than her when it comes to stuff, but he's still not one to want to go, to go and talk to a stranger for something either. Like it's just so weird, but I've come to see that it's kind of like a normal thing with these kids these days where they just don't want to, their communication skills isn't the best, I'm just saying. Their communication skills isn't the best, but I will say my son that's in college and he had to go away. He's not living at home, so he's away, still in Georgia, but um, he had to be put in a situation to where he had to develop a comfort of doing things on his own. And so I was really worried and concerned or whatever, but child, like he overnight, like he turned a new leaf. So I hear that, it's a thing when you're put into an environment, you got to kind of acquiesce, and you kind of change and evolve. And I see that happen with my son. Now he'll be 20 this month on the 14th. No, I'm sorry, on March 14th he'll be 20. So he's grown a lot since he left high school and went off to college, and he had to kind of fend for himself with making things happen himself. So he had to learn how to, okay, I gotta use my voice. I gotta ask. That's why his first job, when he talked about being a server at a restaurant, I was like, what? You have, you have to talk to do that. You have to interact with people. But he did it, for a long time, for about 7 months. And it was just like, wow, like, so he's grown, he's definitely grown while being at school. So, with my other two, I look and expect for similar things to take place with them, for them to get out of their comfort zone and to kind of engage with people and be okay with talking to someone that they've never met before, because that's part of the human experience. The human experience, not AI, the human experience. Virtual says the way this generation acting up, it may not be a bad thing. Yeah. I mean, when I think about my kids and them being introverted, spending in the house, and I think about all the stuff that's going on outside, I do think about, okay, well, they're not into that. They're not techie kid, online internet kids either to have accounts and stuff. They're not like their mama. They not running around with accounts talking to people like I do. So they're very different in that. So when I think about that, I'm like, well, I don't have to worry about them in that capacity with, the crazy stuff that's on the internet. But, I do know that, they're going to have to kind of deal with people in the real world. So they're going to have to know what it is to speak clearly, be assertive, stand up straight, strong handshake, those basic things that you do as you're kind of engaging with people. Like, you got to know those things. You got to know those things. So those are the things that, we try to instill with them and put them in situation to practice. Ridgeway says she do not like to interact with people. I have started making her order her own food to engage. I hate that because I want her to be able to speak up for herself. I like that. I probably will. The idea with them ordering their own food, I do that. And I think about it, like if we'll go to restaurants and I'm like, I'll say whatever it is that I want, and then I'll have them, okay, let them know what you want, and they do that. So uh, that is a great idea. If we're sitting down and I need something, oh, we need some to go bags, some to go boxes, I'll make them one of them. Hey, go up there and ask for this or that. So I think that is a good way to kind of get them to be to use their voice, to engage, things like that. Even if it's something so small, for people who find it hard to do these things, that's big, that's huge. And the more you do it with the practice, the less you'll start to maybe get pushback from them about doing that very thing. So definitely keep that up. I've been doing these types of things with my kids that I'm talking about probably for like the last 3 years, where I've been really intentional. Hey, go ask for this, go ask for a bag. Hey, tell them what you want. So um, it's my hope is that, over time, as they're getting older, I'll see them become more and more comfortable as they're talking to people. And I get less and less pushback when I encourage them to go and talk to a stranger. Mika said, love this conversation, but I better get back to my job before AI takes over. Y'all have a beautiful day. Great conversation, She Virtual. And thank you. Bye, Mika. Have a good day. Richard said, and my son is 12 and he's a total opposite. Yeah, when it comes to that talking stuff, like all three of my kids are pretty much the same when it comes to that. None of them are like what you see with how I am, but as a child, I wasn't how I am with talking and being okay with saying what I want, putting myself out there. These are things that I came to learn on my own as a young adult, that okay, I have to speak up. I can't be shy. I can't be afraid. But my natural nature growing up was more introverted and not talking and not speaking up. So my kids, I can see that in them because that's how I was as a child. But I know as an adult that that does not work. So that's why while they're still minors, I try to have conversations with them to get them prepared for just the real life. So they'll know, like, okay, yeah, this is what mom and dad was talking about. Like, I gotta speak up. I got to do this. And I would say they're all getting better, but my daughter one, I think she's kind of the tougher one. And because, like I said, she's so smart that she don't really need to ask for help on things. It's not like there's in her regular everyday life, it's a norm for her to have to go talk to somebody because, and maybe that's why she's so smart. She motivated. I'm finna get this shit. I'm finna learn this damn lesson because I ain't finna be going to ask nobody nothing. Maybe that's her motivator because she's smart as shit. She don't have to go ask nobody for nothing. So maybe she's motivated by that. Maybe that is why she's so smart, because she don't want to go ask nobody nothing. I don't know. As I'm talking to y'all, I'm thinking like, is that why she damn know every damn thing? Because she like, I'm finna figure this ish out myself, because if not knowing mean I got to go engage with them over there and talk to them, let me just go ahead and look a little harder to look for the answer and figure it out, because she got things figured out kind of on her own. Like she just a call coming through, but she just gets it. So maybe that's, there's a motivation there. Ridgeway said, I am an adult and I still work on being more assertive. I am such an introvert. It's if it's something that's not natural to you, it is something that you have to work at and have to practice. I know, like, I didn't have to practice. It seemed like, once I became a young adult, that I always say my first adult lesson leaving high school, leaving my mom's house was you have to speak up for yourself. Like, and I learned that because I didn't go off to college, and I didn't go off to college right away like, my peers or some other people did. I went straight into the workforce. So I went to basically into corporate America. So I was working around people who were like my mom's age, like who had families and things at home. They weren't like just out of high school. So what I did was I mimicked behavior. So I was like, I took notice of how grown women moved, and most of my relationships I was developing were people who were like what I took out of that is like, oh, okay, so this is what someone who needs to get something done. This is what they do. This is what they say. This is how they say it. Like I literally just took notice of that. And it made me think about just the things that I would hear my mom say to me growing up as far as with communicating, or she would say a closed mouth don't get fed. Like I got to see like, wow, like adults really move, like grown women like speak up and say it with their chest and say what they want and go after what they want. Like y'all, I learned this lesson at like by 20, I had it. I figured it out. By 20, I had it figured it out. I figured it out. So it didn't take long for me to figure it out. Now, the part that I had to keep practicing on is that I always kind of, even though I started kind of communicating more, I still kind of had more of a serious look. So the practice part was to kind of soften my face, to smile more, um, to just be more conscious of just how I'm looking at any given time, because it may not match up to really how I'm feeling. So I had to kind of work on that part, with how I'm looking when someone looks at me. How am I perceived? Because that's a big thing, especially for ladies, where they say, well, people think I'm this way, I'm perceived this way. But in reality, they're not somebody who smiles very often. They always look serious. They'll make faces, things like that. And that's a real thing. And even though, or they say the resting bitch face, like people will have that, and then they'll be judged in life by that. And a lot of times, the people don't like that they're judged because of that, because they're like, well, I can't just smile all the time. And to me, it's not like you're just smiling all the time. It's just relaxing your face. If you do, make eye contact with somebody, putting a, just a little slight smile on your face, lightening up, just being conscious of, okay, I'm around people, so let me be conscious of how I'm coming off. Let me make sure that I'm giving off that I'm approachable. So, maybe stand there, scan the room, put a slight smile on your face. It's little. You don't have to be teasing, because one lady was like, my face will hurt if I smile all the time like that. That lets me know you're not used to doing that, because somebody who knows what I'm talking about, they don't ever say their face hurts, because that's not really what they're doing. They're just, and I think a lot of people are just so uptight. And that's where their comfort is being uptight. But at the same time, they don't like when somebody says you're uptight, or the person don't want to, people don't want to deal with them. They don't, it's like, you're giving this, but though you're mad about how you're being perceived. Like you can't have it both ways. If you do not like how you're being perceived, then it's up to you to change off what you're giving, to change off your energy. That part, that's the onus is on you. It's on you, because you can still choose to be however you're going to be, but at the same time, you got to be okay with how people are perceiving you as a result of what you chose, because life's about choices. So if you're like, oh my God, I don't like how people are perceiving me, the next thing is, okay, what can I do to change that, because I don't like that. It's layers to this. You can't still give what you give and then try to control how people are perceiving that. It doesn't work that way, because why we can't control other people? It's almost like the Jedi mind trick. How you control other people is controlling yourself and what you're giving off. Because when you start giving off something else, then people are going to respond and start responding differently based off of what you're giving. So it's like you're controlling people, but like in an indirect way, you're controlling people through you, through what you're giving. That's as simple I can get. That's as basic as I can give it to people. But a lot of times people don't want to put the work in to make the changes they need to make. They'd rather just sit in, well, this is just who I am and this is me. Okay, well, that's fine. But you can't be upset either with how people are responding to all of that. How people perceive you. You can't control that, ma'am, sir. You can't. You can only control you. So if you don't like what the energy you're receiving, then you gotta do something about that. Mika says they are so intelligent. This was engaging. It's hard to stop listening. Bye, Mika. um, yeah, I mean, it's I don't know. I'm those just my little thoughts or whatever, and I wanted to come and just have the conversation with you all, just because a lot of jobs are being lost, and I know there's been this talk I've been hearing about AI and incorporating into a lot of things. Then there's the whole universal income. So I'm like, okay, with all of those things kind of coming together, I can see how what they say, everything, multiple things can be true at one time. It can be true that AI taking over the job. It can be true, okay, people losing their jobs because AI taking over. Then it can be true, universal income. Okay, we got universal income because it ain't no job. You see what I'm saying? Like all of that is kind of coming together to possibly create the reality of all three. It's like the recipe to justify all of them. Food for thoughts. Food for thought. So what I would encourage you all to do is just go deeper with these, as you're seeing these changes taking place. Think about some of these things or just go deeper in thought as to what the meaning could be. What the meaning could be like, what's the logic as to why some of these things are taking place? Another thing I'll add too is today, this morning before I went live, I saw that there are some changes going on with the financial. So remember, it already had, the President Trump had put out there that they were putting a hold on the, talking, wanting to remove or dismantle the Department of Education and all that. So all that has been put on hold. And I had did a live a couple of weeks ago, talking about the impact that would have on just my life, given that I have a son who's in college. And, as a parent, I'm attached to, whatever financing, whatever, his situation. So that kind of had my attention. So today I learned that for people, I guess, who already kind of are in the season of, trying to pay back their student loans, certain financial options that were once available, like say your repayment plan being based around like your income, those options, when you go into the portal, apparently it's not there as an option for you to use as far as to have your payments be taken into an account for certain situations, such as say your income. That's not a thing. That option is not there anymore. I'm trying to think, there was another thing that also wasn't available. I don't know if it was the forbearance, because normally you'll have a deferment option and a forbearance option. One of those options allows for you to not make your payment and interest is still accumulated, and one of those options is the interest is not accumulated. So it's just, different ways of which they work. But what I'm learning as to right now, some of these options, they're no longer available for you when you go into the system to look at the information, I guess, pertaining to your student loans, and try to maybe apply for certain type of repayment plan or options. They're not there anymore. So it's more limited as to the options that are available now for people who need to start repaying back their student loans. So with that being said, it's with the fewer options, it'll make for some people to maybe not be able to make the payments because certain things that maybe was once able to be considered when it came to what your payment should be is no longer a thing, a way to be considered. So I found that to be interesting. So I'm really in tune with, with this federal funding financing, just because, like I said, I have a son who's in college. He's basically finishing up his sophomore year. So he's basically almost at the halfway point. And the thoughts I've had as of late, as he's entering into his junior year in the fall, is will he have the financing that he needs to continue on? Because right now, him going to school, he relies on funding, federal funding or whatever, because, college is really expensive. So we can't afford to just, pay out of pocket or whatever for all of his college expenses. So we do utilize like federal funding and things like that. So if that's not going to be an option for him as a college student, that could have an impact on how quickly he'll be able to navigate through the college experience as far as with getting his degree, his bachelor's degree, which is what he's working on right now. So hopefully there'll be an answer pertaining to all of that, with the Department of Education and the federal funding and all of that within. I think I had was told that that whole audit process with looking at everything was supposed to be like a 90-day experience. So hopefully that is true, and that before the summer, we enter into summer, we'll kind of know, okay, as a nation, how are we going to be impacted when it comes to just the changes with the Department of Education? What resources will we still have? What resources will we no longer have? So therefore, people can start wrapping their minds around that and planning for that, because you got to plan, right? And I would need to plan as a parent as far as with my son going into the fall as he prepares to enter into his third year of college. I would need to kind of have a game plan as to, okay, what that experience is going to look like as far as with, okay, will he be returning back to the school he was at? If we're having to pay out of pocket, would he need to transfer schools and go to a school that's not as expensive? If we're going to have to pay out of pocket, like these are things that people have to, these are things that people got to think about. We got to plan, right? We got to plan for these things, because anytime when you're dealing with finances, you have to plan. That's what smart people do. You got to plan. So I definitely hope sooner than later they'll have some answers pertaining to this whole Department of Education situation, and the impact that it will have on the American families. Yeah. So that's my thoughts on that. I had a lot to say. Thank y'all for tapping in with me. Mika says, quote for the day, be clear of your movements because consequences will follow. Hopefully they are positive actions, no negative impact. I like that, because also uh, before I went live, I saw this clip that someone had created of a young man. I don't know what state he's in, but he's 16. He was arrested and standing trial for a murder and of another teenager. And when he went to court, he learned that he was going to be tried as an adult, and that he would not be extended the option for bail. That little boy got weak in his knees. Y'all remember when Suge Knight, who was that? Suge Knight went to court years ago before he went got sent away, and they told him whatever his sentence was, and he got that damn man. I think he passed out, y'all. I don't know. Y'all remember Suge? I think Suge passed the hell out, y'all, in that courtroom. I don't know what that judge showed him. I can't remember. I don't know if they saying you about to do some time. I don't know. I just remember seeing that damn big ass man laid out. So this kid, and he was a big kid too. When he started crying like he was probably about 9 years old when that judge told him that he would not be granted bail. So I guess that little experience that he had in the jail from when he got arrested before this court date was enough to have him saying, "Oh hell no, I don't want to be here," because the way he reacted when that judge told him he was not getting bailed, I'd never seen nothing like it. He started boo-hooing. But again, this is an example. Okay, you do adult things, you get adult consequences. So I don't know the background details behind this situation as far as if this young man is guilty of the matter, but he's also being accused of, I think, an attempt on life, attempted murder on somebody else. So y'all know a lot of these kids out here doing the absolute most, and not all situations your parents or caretakers can get you out of. And a lot of the kids are entitled and are used to mama and daddy, grandmama, grandpa, auntie, uncle, somebody showing up for them, saying a few words, maybe writing a check, and then they are going home and going about their business into the next crazy thing that they choose to do. And sometimes there are things that none of that will work for to get you out of, and you just got to really stand on it and deal with the consequences of your actions. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. And this is a 16-year-old boy where that is exactly what happened. And I have a 16-year-old, my son. My middle son is 16. He'll be 17 in July. And I say of my three kids, he's the most worldly child. The experiences we have with him and conversations we got to have with him aren't like the things that we have to have with my son that'll be 20 in a week or so, 2 weeks, and my daughter who's 15. But it's that one, what they say, it be that damn one. It's always that damn one. It be one of them. It be one. And I got my one. It is my middle child. It's my middle child where we got to have these conversations, play stupid games, win stupid prizes, be mindful of the company you keep, all of that. So we have to have those conversations with him more regularly because he of the three children isn't the one that just by nature just saying, no, I'm good. I'm like he's more that the more social one. So that's why I say, like, sometimes, if your kid ain't uber social, it can be a good thing, because you're not really dealing so much with the peer pressure or the child being influenced by other kids and things like that. So it's pros and cons to everything. But I'm just saying, I do have a 16-year-old boy, a son, who my husband and I do have to have conversations with about life and consequences and the importance of moving a certain way, because there are some things that we can do that the consequences will basically impact your life forever. Because let's just say someone who do something and gives them jail time, when they get out, even though they're not in jail, they're still attached to them, their name, their record. So you're forever having to speak on it. How many of you have done something in your past and you still today have to still speak on it, tell the story, give justification of it, and it happened 10, 20, X amount of years ago, but it's still something that follows you and you still have to speak on it. And you just regret it so much because it's like, damn, if I would have knew that forever, I would have to be talking to people about this, trying to convince people of my innocence, trying to tell them, no, I was telling you. It's like nobody ain't got time for that. We're not trying to do that. That's why we really have to think through things in the moment. We got to, be we can't just be out here doing the absolute most and moving all willy-nilly. Like, you got to put thought into things. You got to think about the consequences of it, the possible end game, the end results of it. Is it worth it? Okay, well, I know I want to do this for a job. Well, if I do this, will this have an impact on that? So with say my middle son, my 16-year-old, I do a lot of getting him to think about his future and thinking and having him to think about, hey, the things that you do today can impact those things you want to do tomorrow. It can have someone say, "Oh, you want to come here and go to this school for this program, but I see you got this on your record. So because you have this on your record, we're not going to be able to accept you, son." Like it's those things. So I try to maybe talk to him from that way to get him to think about, okay, what's taking place in the present, in the now, can have an impact on what's to take place tomorrow in the future. So we can't just be living in the now. We have to be forward thinkers. We have to think ahead. We have to think ahead. It's a balance. You have to figure out what that looks like for you to live in the now, but giving thought to the future. Because I've always been more of a future forward thinker and not living enough in the now and the present. My husband is a very present and not a lot down the line type person. So yin and yang, we're the opposite. But the balance comes from when he kind of talks with me about the importance of being in the now, taking in things for the moment. So I've gotten a lot better, but I'm always going to be thinking about the future too. So because I understand you have to plan for things, and when you're giving thought to your future, that goes to show that you're planning. You're planning for tomorrow. You're planning anything that I have, anything I've accomplished. It was me setting out a plan. It way before I accomplished it. I thought about it. I said, this is what I want to do. I identify the steps, the things I need to do to achieve this, that, and third, whatever. And I execute. It's planned. It's planned. It ain't no Beyonce. I woke up like that. No, it don't work that way in my life. And I think most people gonna say that ain't how it work in their life, even for Beyonce. She too has a story that goes back to her singing in a hair salon. So sometimes we're stuck on just the present times of what's going on with someone, and we're not taking into an account of what was taking place before we knew who they were, what their planning, what their blueprint looked like. We don't, because we're just focused on like what's before us, present time. So you don't want to do that because it's an illusion. It's an illusion, and there's always a story. Everyone has a story. I challenge you all to learn someone else's story because it can motivate you. It can motivate you. You too can do it. You can do it. You can do it. So I have no problem sharing my story. This is what I regularly do when I come on this internet and I get to talking and I share, personal stories that I have because I know that a lot of times it makes a difference for someone else. It makes a difference for someone else when they hear your story and know like about your humble beginnings because they know like, wow, where they're seeing you at today, you maybe were once where they are today. You see what I'm saying? So it can kind of give a person hope. To give a person hope. So learn someone's story. Be open. Be open. What they say, we listen and we don't judge. We listen and we don't judge. Listen, everybody judge. Having an opinion is judging. So it's what they say is not what you do, is how you do it. And so as you're forming your opinions of things, people, situations, we just have to be cognizant on our delivery, on how we deliver our response to these things. But we're all going to forever, as long as we're living life, we're going to have opinions, we're going to have these thoughts and beliefs and things like that, and that's perfectly fine. But we have to be open to hear what somebody else has to say. We have to be mindful and respectful for one another. And a lot of times, you can feel strongly about something, and then when you hear someone else speak and you listen, it can actually change maybe how you actually view that particular situation, because now, they've said a lot of things that gave you kind of food for thought, and you're like, wow, I didn't think about that. So I try to do that when I have conversations with people. Uh, I try to hear all sides and be like, wow, okay, just like, it's a lot going on with the politic movement today. And I'm a conservative person, so I don't really subscribe to one hard thing or the other. I go off of just the person, the situation before me, and I move accordingly. but being this way has me to hear all sides. Thank you, virtuous woman. I am about to get out here as well. I appreciate you for all that you do as usual. I thank you, those of you who have come in and tapped in with me for another episode of Car Chronicles. Please like, share, subscribe. If you're not getting the notifications, just hit the notification bell again. Just kind of refresh it, turn it back on, and hopefully you'll start to get the notifications. But this has been another fun conversation as usual. And yeah, follow me here. Chic Speaks on it. I have a second channel, Chic Speaks. Also, I'm now on TikTok. You can find me also on Chic Speaks on it on TikTok. You can follow me there as well, as we continue to have these much needed conversations because it's a lot going on. And a lot of it is just food for thought, just to give you something to think about. Because smart people, I say, ask questions because that's how you know. So I come out here, I post these questions, we engage, we try to, come up with some answers, some solutions, things like that. That's what it's about. That's the type of time I'm on over here on this platform. That's what it's about. And I thank each and every one of you who supports me with how I move on my platforms. I want you all to have a wonderful day. Take care of yourselves and one another. Heavy on the take care of yourself because so often we neglect ourselves because we're so busy out here trying to save the world, child. Save yourself. Save yourself. Protect yourself. Always prioritize your peace. Protect your peace. And um, what's today? Wednesday? Happy hump day. Happy hump day. So have a wonderful, awesome day. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Go outside if you can. Take a walk. Take a walk. Catch you on the next broadcast. Peace.